وروحي أحرفي ولساني عربية حسب.
Deluge of questions still to cover. So, can we get enough refreshment for Sheikh Imran, please? So let's start off with Mazen's question. And that was about the Saudi control of Haram Sharif and knowing that all funds from Hajj go to Saudi Wahhabi state. Do you think Hajj is accepted or permissible? Also with the rising cost and expense becoming unaffordable?
My answer to this question comes from Surah Al-Ma'idah of the Quran, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded us, O you who have faith in Allah, يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تتخذوا اليهود والنصارى أولياء. Do not take the Jews, do not take the Christians as your friends and allies. But proper methodology is for me to ask, is Allah speaking about all Jews and all Christians, or some Jews and some Christians? Because you never take a verse of the Quran in isolation by itself. If you do that, you will end up declaring that Iblis is an angel. Yeah, that's what will happen. Proper methodology is that you never take any verse of the Quran or any hadith in isolation by itself to study it. Only a schoolboy does that, a scholar does not do that. Well then, is Allah speaking about all Jews and all Christians? No, not possible. Why? Several verses of the Quran, and you have my book Methodology outside there, so you'll find the verses of the Quran there. Several verses of the Quran which makes it plain and clear that Allah could not be speaking about all Jews and all Christians. Well then, if He's not speaking about all Jews and all Christians when He says, do not take the Jews and Christians as your friends and allies, which Jews and which Christians is He talking about? Proper methodology. And the answer comes in the words which follow. Ba'aduhum awliya'u ba'd. That's the answer. Ba'aduhum awliya'u ba'd. Meaning, do not take such Jews and such Christians as your awliya, your friends and allies, who are ba'aduhum awliya'u ba'd, who are themselves friends and allies of each other. The Quran is informing us that there is a time to come when there will be a reconciliation and an alliance, friendship and alliance between a part of the Christian world and a part of the Jewish world. And when that Judeo-Christian alliance emerges, لَا تَتَّخِذُوهُمْ, do not take them as your friends and allies. وَمَن يَتَوَلَّهُم مِّنكُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ. This is one of the most powerful statements in the Quran. If only you could understand and weigh it. وَمَن يَتَوَلَّهُم مِّنكُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ. Whosoever from you turn to them, to embrace them as friends and allies, You no longer belong to this ummah, you now belong to them. Inna Allah la yahdil qawm al-zalimin. Surely Allah does not provide guidance for a wicked people. Okay. You will say to me, Imran, we have read all the tafasir there are, and we hardly ever find this explanation that you have given. All right? So, my answer is, brother, when I offer an explanation, when I offer an interpretation of the Quran or the hadith, do not accept it unless you are convinced that I am correct. I can't do more than that, can I? So I am not attempting to force anyone to accept my views at all. I respect your mind. I respect your capacity to think. And I want to provoke you to think. So this is my explanation of the verse. Has that Judeo-Christian alliance emerged? Is it now here? Yes. The Vatican has played a critical role in the emergence of a Judeo-Christian alliance, which is a Zionist alliance. Christian Zionists and Jewish Zionists have established that Judeo-Christian alliance. And that Judeo-Christian alliance controls power in Britain, controls power in the United States and Canada and Europe. The people in the United States may think one way, but that Judeo-Christian alliance, they control power and they take the society in the direction that they want to take it. It is that Judeo-Christian alliance which has given us the monetary system that we have today. It is that Judeo-Christian alliance which has given us the United Nations organization and the new model of a republican state, a secular state. And it is Dr. Muhammad Iqbal, may Allah forgive him, that outstanding scholar, who was able to see and recognize the evil in that civilization, and yet played strategically the most important role, more important than anybody else, including Mustafa Kemal. It was Dr. Muhammad Iqbal who played the most strategically important role in the transition from the Khilafah state to this model of a state which has come from that Judeo-Christian alliance. When he broke the back of the Khilafat movement in India and paved the way for the All India Muslim League to take over, when he declared, and this is what he said, and may Allah forgive him, because it is a mountain of a mistake. He said that the modern republican state is an adequate substitute for the Khilafah. Yes. It is from them that the state came. It is from them that the United Nations organization came. It's from them that the IMF came. It is from them that monetary system came of paper money and plastic money, electronic money and cryptocurrencies. It is also from them that you got the scientific and technological revolution. For in istata'tum an tanfuzu min aqtari samawati wal ard fanfuzu. That's your scientific and technological revolution. From them. Now then, Allah prohibits us from embracing them with friendship and alliance. Prohibits us. From day one, this kingdom of Saudi Arabia has done precisely that. From day one. They have remained in the embrace of that civilization and that alliance to the extent that you can call it the American kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Like I used to say, the American kingdom of American Republic of Pakistan. Thank Allah that I did that. So the Pakistani people have now gotten rid of them and brought a new government in Pakistan that you can't buy with Saudi riyals. And the new government in Pakistan you can't buy with US dollars, and praise be to Allah for that. So this is a positive development. If Allah says this in the Quran, that when you enter in their embrace, you no longer belong to us, you belong to them, can they deliver a valid Hajj? Can a Hajj under their control be a valid Hajj? Did the Prophet ﷺ accept, did he accept that the Hajj which was taking place under the Mushrikun was a valid Hajj? No, he never performed the Hajj until he had liberated Mecca. Then he performed the Hajj. So my response is, so long as these Saudi traitors control the Hajj, I will not perform the Hajj. You must decide for yourself. You must decide for yourself. I'm only telling you what is my response. I'm not telling you what should be yours. I want you to do your own homework. So I have gold dinars, and I put them away. And if I'm alive and the Hajj is liberated from these traitors, then I will perform the Hajj. And if I'm not alive, then someone can perform the Hajj on my behalf. This is my answer. You must choose your answer. Sorry if it takes so much time.
Next question is relating to your views on Russia, particularly what is happening in Syria. The questioner says that Bashar Assad is an enemy of Muslims, is an Alawi Shia. Russia is also killing Muslims. Could we say God bless Russia?
Number one, are the Shia Muslims or are they kuffar? That's the answer. That's the question that has to be answered. If you say someone is a kafir, and Allah does not accept that, you become a kafir. My response is that the rejection of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu as the Khalifa is a great act of misguidance. And the rejection of Umar Farooq and Usman Ghani radiallahu ta'ala anhum as Khulafa is a great act of misguidance. And the substitute theory of the imamat, what is that? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has ordained as an article of belief in Islam, because if it comes from Him, it is an article of belief, that the leadership of the Ummah of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam after his death is restricted to Ahlul Bayt. And we say, this is the theory of imamat. Because of this theory, they reject Abu Bakr Siddiq and Umar Farooq and Usman Ghani. And I go to Iran myself, and I tell this myself, I tell this to them. If you say that this has come from Allah, that the leadership of this ummah is restricted to Ahlul Bayt, and my name is Imran Hosein, and I say I reject that, then I'm a kafir. Do you agree or you disagree? They're silent. They don't want to call me a kafir. But they have to recognize that if it has come from Allah and I reject it, then this is an act of kufr. No one ever told that to them before, because they welcome me in Iran with great respect and great love and affection. That's how they welcome me in Iran. So I asked them, am I a kafir or am I a Muslim? Because I reject your theory of imamah. But more than that, the Quran has come to explain all things. And in the Quran there are verses which are called muhkamat, plain and clear, and this is Kitab. And in the Quran there are verses which are mutashabihat, which have to be interpreted. And whenever you make an interpretation, you have to say, Allahu A'lam. Allah knows best. Because I can be right, I can be wrong. So you cannot have a belief system based on mutashabihat. The belief system has to be based on Kitab, the muhkamat. So I invite you in the Shia world, and these words that I now speak will reach them in Iran through the internet. I invite you, and I do so in a respectful way. I invite you to show me in the Quran, not from the mutashabihat, from the muhkamat, show me the evidence of your theory of imamat. It does not exist. It's not there in the Quran. Since it is not there in the Quran, you are misguided on this subject. But that does not mean that you're kafir. No. So my view is that the Shia, that is the Ithna Ashara, I'm not talking about others, the Ithna Ashara, that you are misguided on this subject, but you are still my Muslim brother. If you want to part company, if you want to part company from Imran Hosein over this issue, the door is there, you can go. Don't come back. I don't want to see you. If you want to part company from me over this issue, the door is there, leave and don't come back. This is my view. And I think carefully. I have not found amongst all the Shia that I met, and I meet with lots of ayatollahs. Oh yes. I even had an ayatollah help me get another wife. Because the Iranian women are very stern. He asked me, Sheikh, can you help me get another wife? I have never found an ayatollah telling me this bogus nonsense that came out of some garbage bin, that this Quran is incomplete. Okay? I've never found an ayatollah speaking disrespectfully of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, or the wives of the Prophet. These are the ayatollahs. So if some Tom, Dick, or Harry speaks disrespectfully, are you going to take them and throw them in the garbage into the whole Shia world? We have more Sunnis behaving disgracefully. Should you go take the whole Sunni world and throw it away because of these Sunnis who have the Qibla in Washington instead of in Mecca? So my view is that the Shia are Muslims, they're my brothers, and whether you are Shia or whether you are Sunni, if you do the right thing, we say yes, it's right. And if you do the wrong thing, we say it's wrong. Now then, yes, Assad is Shia. He belongs to the Alawi. But there are Hindus who don't have the Quran. The Shia still have the Quran. If a Hindu or if a Jew stands up against the oppressor, I say to the Hindu, you are my brother. If a Jew stands up to the oppressor, I say to him, you are my brother. So why should I not say it if a Shia stands up against the oppressor? No, Assad is a dog. Assad is a cat. Assad is this. Assad is raping babies. Take your rubbish and carry it somewhere else, and don't waste my time. Take your rubbish somewhere else and leave me alone. I didn't spend all my life in the pursuit of knowledge to be kicked around like a football by those who don't even know the alphabet, parroting everything that comes out of their media. Assad is a dog and Assad is a cat. I prefer the company of learned and intelligent people, not people who broadcast propaganda. Now then, if Russia had not intervened in Syria, military, Syria would have become another Libya, and they would have been clapping their hands, these jackasses. Syria would have become another Libya. Libya today is under the control of NATO. Yeah. So Syria would have become like Libya, another NATO state. Is that what you want? If that's what you want, that's the door. Leave, don't come back. I don't want to see your face. I don't want even to shake hands with you, if that's what you want. You're not my brother. Because NATO is the biggest oppressor in the world today. And the religion of Islam came to resist oppression. If you can't understand that, you are profoundly misguided. There's much more I can speak on this subject. And you have been listening to me, you would know it. So I give credit to Libya, Gaddafi, who at least stood up and resisted the oppressor, while the Saudis were shoe-shine boys of the oppressor. I give credit to Syria, which stood up to resist the oppressor, while Qatar and Jordan were shoe-shine boys of the oppressor. So you and I live in two different worlds. If you want to join that bogus jihad, excuse me, the Yankee jihad in Syria, because you know who provides all the weapons? State-of-the-art weapons. It's a secret, It's Santa Claus. It's Santa Claus. He brings all the state-of-the-art weapons from the North Pole. And he brings all the US dollars. And he provides all the logistics and so on to pass through Syria to go and fight in this Yankee jihad. And you're going to tell me this is a valid jihad? I don't care if I have to be the only voice on the face of the earth. One voice alone, proclaiming that to be a bogus jihad. I'd love to do that until Allah puts me in the grave, because I'll go down into the grave defending the truth. So, I'm sorry if I may have offended some people. My words have been very sharp, but I am a scholar of international affairs. And I know the subject better than the graduates of the Darul Uloom who have no knowledge of this subject. I hope I've answered you.
Can I ask my own question, which I
Yeah.
heard from your recent lecture?
Yeah.
That, as we know, the only militarily important state in the Islamic world is one country that can stand up to a nuclear attack. And the only way to ruin that state is to create a Sunni-Shia war. Is that your belief of the real end game against the Muslim Ummah?
Yes, yes. I have to be careful with my words now. I am of the view that it is Dajjal who is responsible for the Sunni-Shia divide, and that he has brought the Sunni-Shia divide so that he can use it to maximum advantage and benefit in Akhirul Zaman. And that is to provoke Sunni-Shia civil war in the house of Islam. Those of my Muslim brothers who are insistent that the Shia are kuffar, tell them, I don't want to see your faces, I don't want to meet you, you go your way and leave me alone, even if I have to be one solitary voice in the world. I'm not going to be a part of that. On the contrary, my students and I, no matter how small we may be, even while we recognize the Shia to be misguided on this issue, this very fundamental issue that Abu Bakr Siddiq and Umar Farooq and Usman Ghani, they say were usurpers. They say that. Even though we differ with them on this very fundamental issue, yes, we still recognize them to be Muslims. We still recognize that we must reach out to them to build an alliance based on the verse of the Quran. Now where is it? Is it in Suratul Anfal? Al-kafiruna ba'duhum awliya'u ba'd. That the kuffar are friends and allies of each other. Illam tafa'alu, if you do not do the same, to reach out for those with whom you can build friendship and alliance. Takun fitnatun fil ardi wa fasadun kabir. There will be fitna on earth and great fasad. So the first people I must turn to build friendship and alliance are those who are within the house of Islam. And then after that I turn to those Christians who in Akhirul Zaman would be the closest in friendship and alliance to me.
So this points to your theory of where the Dajjal is quite accurately, because a lot of people differ from your opinion that the Dajjal is out and conspiring against the Muslim Ummah because of the Muslim Shia endgame, which we don't think enough about.
I don't think it's possible for any scholar to understand and explain the subject of Dajjal who lived at an age before the modern age. Not even if your name is Imam al-Ghazali. It's impossible. In order to understand the subject of Dajjal, to grasp it, you have to live in the end time. Number two, I don't think it's possible for any scholar living today, at this time, to penetrate and grasp the subject of Dajjal without a versatile scholarship. Meaning, you must not only have the scholarship of Quran and hadith, but also scholarship of history, of political history, of economic history, scholarship of monetary economics, strategic affairs, and so on, and scholarship of comparative religion. And in addition to all of this, I don't think it's possible for you as a scholar of Islam to penetrate and understand the subject of Dajjal with mere book knowledge. Book knowledge is insufficient. You need something called basira. It's not sold in the supermarket. Basira is internal, intuitive, spiritual insight. When you've done your homework, you've burned the midnight oil, you've studied the texts. Beyond that, there's another stage, when with basira you'll be able to see what otherwise could not be seen. This book, where is it? The book on Dajjal, my first book on Dajjal. You'll see where in that book on Dajjal, I have interpreted a verse of the Quran as never interpreted before. Never. Nobody ever did it. وَلَقَدْ فَتَنَّا سُلَيْمَانَ وَأَلْقَيْنَا عَلَى كُرْسِيهِ جَسَدًا ثُمَّ أَنَابَ قَالَ رَبِّ اغْفِرْ لِي وَهَبْ لِي مُلْكًا لَا يَنبَغِي لِأَحَدٍ مِّن بَعْدِي إِنَّهُ إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْوَهَّابُ. Who is this Jasad? Allah showed him a vision. And in the vision he saw someone sitting on his throne. A Jasad. A body without a soul, a Jasad. And that Jasad was so evil. And that Jasad wants to inherit his throne. And he responded by making the dua. Oh Allah, please grant that no one can inherit my kingdom after me. And Allah answered the dua. And the kingdom, the holy state of Israel, the Khilafah state, collapsed as soon as Sulaiman died, alayhi salam. So I said the Jasad is Dajjal. He's an evil being. He appears as a human being, but he's not fully human being. That's why he's a Jasad. And he wants to inherit the holy state to rule the world. Since I made this interpretation about 2 years now, there has been widespread acceptance that this interpretation is correct. Yeah. Very, very few have come forward to challenge me because it's so plain and clear. Why is it that no one ever gave this interpretation before in all of history? Answer: even if I was alive earlier, I could not have done it. No. It is possible only because we are living in this age. That's why. And number two, Allah blessed me with this versatile scholarship that I studied international politics, international economics, international monetary economics, history of international affairs. I studied philosophy, I studied the Quran, I studied the hadith. But in addition to that my teacher taught me proper methodology for study of the Quran. And last of all, that Allah blessed me. He blessed me with insight. I can't hide it. He blessed me with insight. And if you boast of anything, Allah takes it away from you. So nobody can expect to be able to understand and explain the subject of Dajjal easily. That's why the world of Islamic scholarship still has time ahead before they can handle the subject of Dajjal. So I'm not surprised that there's so many the ulama who are not willing to accept my views. Yeah. Yes, you can go ahead.
So brothers and sisters, you can see that the discussion we are having is different to what we hear in our majazis and Jummah prayers. It is actually on a slightly different level and a different interpretation. It's more not just academic and rote, but is actually interpretation. So we are hoping to set up an institute within this place for Sheikh Imran and his teachers to come and teach us these principles so we can take this forward either to the same level or a different level. So the Ummah can benefit from Sheikh Imran's thinking and what he's been setting up as an institute in Malaysia. So if any of you guys are interested, we would like you to register your interest in the forthcoming weeks or months. Sheikh Imran's student, Hezbollah, will be coming here to impart and teach us on a regular basis, or either as part-time or full-time subject. Malana, can you enlighten the brothers and sisters a bit?
The hope and praise, I can convince him, my assistant. I also have a second assistant now who used to be the Imam in Luton. You have some from Luton here, where you? Yeah? Your Imam in Luton, yes. Imam Muhammad Sharif. He's now in Malaysia, training in eschatology. So he also will become a teacher of eschatology. It's not going to be easy. I wish I had had them here today for this session. We're hoping that we can have them here in London, so we can have classes to teach eschatology here in London, but give us a little time. But I have to now ask you, how come I'm doing all the talking? A good seminar is one in which you have not only questions and answers, but a discussion session. You might have knowledge that I don't have. You might have insights that I don't have. And we'd like to hear your views so that I am not the only one speaking. So I'll ask Dr. Ansari to kindly invite them. Invite our audience to share with us their views on the subject.
So, coming back to the subject in hand, Sheikh, one of the questions carrying on from Saudi Arabia is Saudi 2030 vision you may have heard about. It's a vision of the Saudi government to make the Hajj and Umrah into the world's biggest investment. Does that say Riba fund? Who was asked that question? Riba fund. Do you have knowledge of this, and can you make comments, please?
I don't have any data in the Quran or in the hadith on the basis of which I can give a response, other than that the Prophet ﷺ declared, Allahumma barik lana fi Shamina wa Yamanina. O Allah, kindly grant us blessings in our Sham or Yemen. And then the people ask, what about our Najd? They did not ask, what about Najd? That was not the question. They asked, what about our Najd? And if you are in Hijaz, and the questioner is speaking about our Najd, unless you got your PhD in Disneyland, you would know that Najd is next door to Hijaz, not in Iraq. You really have to be a schoolboy to seek to convince us that Najd is in Iraq, to try to get away from the implications of the hadith. It's pathetic scholarship, pathetic. What about our Najd? Our Najd is next door to Hijaz. And when the question was repeated 3 times, then the Prophet ﷺ responded. And he says, from Najd will come Qarnu Shaitan. The people, the satanic age, the satanic generation, the satanic people will come from there, and earthquakes and fitna. The present rulers of Saudi Arabia, both the political and the religious leadership, the Wahhabi movement and the Saudi royal family have come from Najd. And so we recognize the fulfillment of the prophecy of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in the present kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So whatever is to come that you are talking about or anticipating is yet another part of the unfolding plan of Satan. That's all I have to say.
Next question.
Yeah.
So another interesting political question regarding Syria, Russia, and Turkey.
Yeah.
And Turkey's control of the Bosphorus River back in 2023, how's this going to impact? And Turkey, currently a NATO ally, and the Syria-Russia relationship or axis.
I think I have addressed this subject more than most other scholars of Islam have done. The Prophet ﷺ is speaking with his companion Mu'az ibn Jabal, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And the hadith is in the Sunan of Abi Dawood. And he said, Umran Bayt al-Maqdis kharabu Yathrib. He's giving us a timeline of events, major events in Akhir Zaman. Umran Bayt al-Maqdis kharabu Yathrib. Kharabu Yathrib khuruj al-Malhama. Khuruj al-Malhama Fathul Constantinople. Fathul Constantinople khuruj al-Dajjal. This is the hadith. A timeline of events. That the first one to look to is Jerusalem. The Jerusalem becomes center stage, using the analogy of construction. Center stage in the world. And Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel is part of that. And then the second event is that at that time, when Jerusalem becomes center stage, Medina will have no role. Yathrib, he doesn't use the word Medina, he uses the word Yathrib. Yathrib has no role to play, none. And then comes after that, the next major event would be the Great War, the Malhama, which is the subject of this book. The Great War, the Malhama, or Armageddon. But then after that, the next event, curiously so, is the conquest of Constantinople. So I asked myself, why? Why is Constantinople so important? He praised the army and he praised the commander. لَتَفْتَحَنَّ الْقُنْسْتَنْتِنِيَّةَ وَلَنِعْمَ الْأَمِيرُ آمِرُهَا وَلَنِعْمَ الْجَيْشُ ذَلِكَ الْجَيْشُ. He praised the army, he praised the commander, and he declared that you will most certainly conquer Constantinople. I understand from this prophecy, number one, that Constantinople today is under the control of NATO. That's right. Turkey is a member state of NATO. And Turkey is not going to come out of NATO. Forget that. So the conquest of Constantinople will liberate Constantinople from NATO. Number two, that when Constantinople is conquered, it will now be possible for us to return Hagia Sophia to the Christians. Allah says in Surah Al-Hajj, وَلَوْلَا دَفْعُ اللَّهِ النَّاسَ بَعْدَهُمْ بِبَعْدٍ لَهُدِّمَتْ صَوَامِعُ وَبِيعٌ وَصَلَوَاتٌ وَمَسَاجِدُ يُذْكَرُ فِيهَا اسْمُ اللَّهِ كَثِيرًا. That if I did not raise people to restrain others, then churches and monasteries and cathedrals and synagogues and masajid would be destroyed. And these are buildings in which Allah's name is mentioned. He didn't say masjid alone, no. He says Allah's name is mentioned frequently in the church, in the cathedral, in the synagogue, and in the masjid. And so this ummah has a religious obligation to protect the church, the synagogue, the cathedral. And what the Ottoman Empire did was in conflict with Allah's command in the Quran. That they conquered Constantinople, and the first thing that Sultan Muhammad Fatih did, shamefully so, disgracefully so, sinfully so, was to take this biggest cathedral of the Orthodox Christian world, which had functioned as their premier cathedral for 1,000 years, and it converted it into a masjid, to the eternal shame and disgrace of the world of Islam. But on that day when we conquer Constantinople, we will now return the cathedral to the Orthodox Christian world. And whichever Muslim there is out there misguided who say, no, this is a masjid, out. You don't have any say in this. We've defeated you. We have defeated you. We've liberated the city from people like you. You don't have any say on this day. Go! And we will then return the cathedral to the Orthodox Christian world. And we will offer an apology to them. And the name of the city will be restored to Constantinople. Constantinople. Why? Because that is the name that came from the lips of Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. And if he referred to the city as Constantinople, this is the Sunnah. So Mustafa Kamal, get lost. the city's name will be restored to Constantinople. I'm going to lecture on this subject on the 26th of August, inshallah, in the city of Leeds. And it is a Greek Orthodox Christian community who have invited me to speak in their church on this subject. The conquest of Constantinople in Islamic eschatology. There's one more implication of the conquest of Constantinople in Akhiru Zaman. And that is, it will liberate the Bosphorus. After the Great War, there may be no more aircraft. The wars will be fought on the land and the sea. So the Russian Navy would then occupy a position of supreme importance. In order for the Russian Navy to play a role of strategic importance in Akhiru Zaman, number one, they need Crimea, and they got Crimea. And number two, they need the Bosphorus to be liberated, and the Bosphorus will be liberated with the conquest of Constantinople. And so, as soon as Constantinople is conquered, you can now understand that the alliance, the friendship and alliance between the world of Islam and the Orthodox Christian world will now become possible.
Next question, Sheikh. Let's shift to China now. One Belt, One Road quantum project appears to be bringing civilization to remote areas of the world as part of the United Nations 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. And as permanent members of the UNSC, Russia and China seem to be heavily involved in ushering in the new world order. Are they both not helping further the Dajjal's master plan to rule the world? Is there any wisdom in aligning with them?
You know, there's a statement about writing a blank check. I am not doing that for China. No. I'm not doing that for Russia. No. When Russia or China does something which is good and right, I say it's good and right. But if they do something which is a mistake, I have to say it's a mistake. So I am not writing a blank check for Russia and China, and I don't want my students to do that. I want you to keep your critical faculties intact. So if they do something wrong, you say it's wrong. And if they do something right, you say it's right. Amar bil ma'ruf wa nahi anil munkar. The most important thing to recognize about China is that China, like Russia, is standing up and resisting the Judeo-Christian Zionist alliance, which wants to impose its rule over the whole world. Russia says we will not bend our knee before you, and China says we will not bend our knee before you. Pakistan, of course, was shining their shoes for all the time. Just shining their shoes. That's why Nawaz Sharif is now in jail, in prison. I'm happy he's in prison. Yeah. So Pakistan is now coming out, thanks to a cricketer named Imran Khan, coming out of that dark night of shoeshine boys, of US dollars and Saudi riyals. Thanks to a cricketer, not thanks to any Maulana or Mufti. It's a cricketer who did it. Amazing, eh? A cricketer. And the same way he played cricket, he didn't cheat. He played cricket like a gentleman. And Dr. Ansari is a cricketer, yeah. So he knows the game. He played cricket like a gentleman, He played according to the rules. He never cheated. No, that's not Imran Khan. So we can anticipate that he will similarly play by the rules. So when a Judeo-Christian alliance comes to try to subdue him and force him to bend his knee to them, and all the others before him all went down and kissed their feet, I don't think Imran Khan will do that. So they have a little surprise coming up to them. Similar is the profile of Dr. Mahathir in Malaysia. Oh yes. Dr. Mahathir, when it's a spade, he calls it a spade. Yeah. This is the profile of China. This is the profile of Russia. If you say, but they are oppressing, you can't have a hijab in China, you can't have a hijab there, the Chinese are oppressing these Muslim people and so on, I have no response to say this is wrong. No, this is right. That these acts of oppression may be taking place, but not because you find these acts of oppression are we going to write them off. A schoolboy will do that. For me, the most important thing is your profile of standing up to the oppressor. If you're a Jew, you're a Hindu, and you stand up to the oppressor and you call a spade, you are my brother. That's my profile. And so, this is my view concerning Russia and China. And because Russia and China refuse to bend and bow, this is why war is inevitable. That the Great War is coming, and it's going to be nuclear war. We are not going to be major actors in the nuclear war. No, we have only one Pakistan with nuclear weapons. But we are going to be affected by the nuclear war because we can anticipate that as soon as the nuclear war begins between Russia and the United States, within minutes you can expect an attack on Pakistan. Because Israel cannot become a ruling state in the world while any Muslim country has nuclear weapons. So they'll have to destroy Pakistan's nuclear weapons and nuclear plants. And you don't need a PhD to understand that 9/11 was linked to this project. 9/11 was linked to this. Not only do they have to destroy Pakistan's nuclear capacity or attempt to do it, but in addition to that, they're going to have to break up Pakistan into bits and pieces, tukra, so that Pakistan cannot be revived as a nuclear power. But at the same time that this is their plan, they plan their plan and Allah plans His plans. And from the time the Great War starts, we have the opportunity of a lifetime. I don't have the time tonight to speak to you on detail on this. No. We have the opportunity of a lifetime. And in Akhir Zaman, Pakistan is the most important state. Not Morocco, not Algeria, Pakistan. And that is that, I don't know how well you know your history. I don't know how much you know about the Khilafah movement. I am from the little island of Trinidad in the Caribbean, and I probably know more about the Khilafah movement than most Pakistanis. That we have to return to the Khilafah movement, which preceded the All India Muslim League. That Khilafah movement was on the right path. but made mistakes. We have to ensure we don't make the mistakes that they made, and then resume the effort for the restoration of the Khilafah state. So how to move from Muhammad Ali Jinnah's Pakistan to the Khilafah state? You're going to have to walk on eggshells and try not to break the eggshells. Is it possible to walk on eggshells and not break them? That's how you have to do it, because the brainwashing of the Pakistani masses has been total and complete. Total and complete. So you have to, with infinite wisdom and infinite patience, you have to try to take Muhammad Ali Jinnah's Pakistan to the Khilafah state, which was the objective of the Khilafat movement of the 1920s, 1930s, and which was demolished and replaced with the All India Muslim League. This is the good news for that part of the world. As soon as the Great War takes place, you will have the opportunity of the lifetime.
One idea wants to ask a question. It's quite lengthy and complicated, so he should ask himself.
So
What was that?
I've got a few questions.
I'm waiting for comments and you asking questions.
We'll have a kind of dialogue. Obviously, after watching you for so many years, I've got a lot of questions to say since this is the first time we met. So the first question I have is, in a hadith it says that the war between the Jews and the Muslims will be at the Euphrates River. The Muslims will be on the west and the Jews on the east. And the hadith says the Muslims will win. Therefore, does that mean there will be no greater Israel?
There is a difficulty with some hadith, and proper methodology. This answer is going to take some time. What can I do? Proper methodology is that the Quran must sit in judgment over hadith. And if a hadith is in harmony with the Quran, you accept it. But if a hadith is in conflict with the Quran, like marrying a child 6 years of age, if a hadith is in conflict with the Quran, or even the appearance of conflict with the Quran, you must always stay with the Quran. The Quran says about Akhirul Zaman that the Jews are going to display the greatest hatred and enmity and hostility for you. And at that time there will be another people who are immersed in shirk who will be the same way to you, the most hostile. We see that has already come today. It is the Jewish world and modern Western civilization. But Allah goes on to say that at that time when the Jews are behaving like this, there will be a Christian people who will be closest in love and affection for you. And I don't know, I have lectured on this subject 100,000 times already, so you should be familiar with my views. So I don't have to repeat it all. And I have come to the conclusion that Christian people who will be closest in love and affection to Muslims in Akhir Zaman will be the Orthodox Christians. Based on the verse in Suratul Anfal, we will have an alliance with them. The alliance is not based on the hadith, the alliance is based on the Quran. That these are going to be the people who will be closest in love and affection for you. And we form an alliance with them in Akhir Zaman. But the hadith says that when this alliance is victorious, a Christian will get up and declare the cross is victorious. And then a Muslim will get up and kill him and say, no, Allah is victorious. It's the great. And then the two armies are going to get locked into a battle, and 1/3 of the Muslim army would run away, and Allah will never forgive them. And 1/3 will become shuhada, and the last 1/3 will be victorious. You're probably familiar with this hadith. And I asked myself, something must be wrong with that verse in the Quran. Eh? How can a people who are the closest in love and affection to you, how can they act like this? That one fella gets up and declares the cross is victorious, and because of that, wholesale war between the two sides? This is in conflict with what is in the Quran. So I do not accept. I accept that yes, there is an alliance, but I do not accept this which is in conflict with the Quran, that because of one individual, the two sides are going to wage war against each other. No. So I am of the view that in Akhir Zaman there will be an alliance of Muslims and Christians, and it is that alliance which will conquer Jerusalem.
The second question was that you said earlier that if someone makes a hakim, makes halal haram, haram halal, then that's shirk. Therefore, the Muslim rulers who are doing that, are they kuffar? Because, for example, riba is halal in Muslim world, and for example, in Tunisia recently, Muslim women can now marry non-Muslim men.
When you use the microphone, I can't understand what you're saying. I can't understand what you're saying here. There's something with the acoustics here. Yeah.
So you said earlier that making halal haram and haram halal is shirk. Therefore, the Muslim hukam, are they kuffar because they make, for example, riba is halal in the whole Muslim world, and another example is in Tunisia, they're allowing Muslim women to marry non-Muslim men. So that's legal. So that's just the question. Does that make them kuffar?
Anyone who makes halal what Allah has made haram, or who makes haram what Allah has made halal, is committing shirk. Full stop. It doesn't matter whether it be in Tunisia or in Timbuktu. It will be shirk, yes. It doesn't matter where it is. Even if a government does it, it's still shirk. And there is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that in Akhir Zaman, not Akhir, Yawmul Qiyamah, my voice is beginning to go now.
Can you take a rest for a minute?
Yeah, inshallah.
I want
Let me answer this question, yeah. That on Yawmul Qiyamah, on the Judgment Day, Allah will say to Adam alayhi salam, take out the people for Jahannam. The hadith is in Sahih Bukhari. And Adam will ask, how many are they for Jahannam? And Allah will then say, out of every 1,000, take 999 for Jahannam. And then the hadith goes on. And my response is, if Allah is Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim and Al-Ghafoor, and if He says, if you, my servants, come to me with sins as high as the sky, I will forgive them all, then how can we possibly explain that 999 out of every 1,000 enters into the hellfire. There's only one explanation. Only one. And that is, he said that there is one sin that I will not forgive if you die with that sin. And it is shirk. And so therefore, we come to the conclusion that it is because of shirk that 919 out of every 1,000 will enter into the hellfire. So we are now inundated all around us with shirk. But there's another hadith which says that the shirk in Akhir zaman will not be easy to recognize. Very difficult. How difficult? As difficult as it would be to recognize a black ant on a black stone on a dark night. In other words, it's not with book knowledge alone that you'll be able to recognize the shirk in Akhir zaman. You need more than book knowledge. You need something called basira. Yes?
Brother Salman Dani, who's the Imam of Pearly Mosque, would like to invite Sheikh Imran to another lecture.
Oh, mashallah.
At Pearly Mosque on Maghrib time on Tuesday evening. I think we can accommodate if you're willing. Number one. And
With my knee like this?
I can take you. It's not so far, but we'll give an answer. We'll give an answer later. Secondly, he has an announcement for an event at Pearly Mosque as well.
Inshallah, we hope Sheikh Imran Hosein will accept the invitation to cover the same topic on 31st of July, Tuesday after Maghrib. Obviously, the book also very beneficial, the prohibition of Riba in Islam. I think it's a very important topic that really touched our heart today.
I can take
And
you
indeed,
step
as ulama, we need to really take this campaign forward. We are the reward of Sheikh abundantly. Before all this, we have Sheikh Ahmed Ali coming to Pearly Masjid, and he's from Bradford. And because many of the people are going for Hajj, we will cover the footsteps of Ibrahim, Khalilullah, and the other sacrifice that he has made. So it's more connecting the people for this great journey of Hajj, inshallah. We hope that we can also attend. But most important, I hope Sheikh will accept on Tuesday after Maghrib, the 31st of July. Jazakallah.
Inshallah, okay.
Brother, you have one last question? Keep it very brief. I've got a lot of questions.
So someone said to me that cryptocurrency is better than fiat currency because the government has no direct control over it. What's your opinion on this?
I already answered that. I said that the ultimate objective is one world currency for all of mankind. And they have to devise a strategy to move from this present system in which currencies are under the control of governments, to this one in which all the currencies in the world will be resolved in one currency under the control of Israel. How do you move from here to here? And my answer is that cryptocurrencies have come of the Khilafah movement of the 1920s, 1930s, and which was demolished and replaced with the All India Muslim League. This is the good news for that part of the world. As soon as the Great War takes place, you will have the opportunity of the lifetime.
Brother here wants to ask a question. It's quite lengthy and complicated, so he should ask himself.
Assalamu alaikum.
Very good.
So I've got a few questions.
I'm waiting for comments and you asking questions.
We'll have a kind of dialogue. Obviously, after watching you for so many years, I've got a lot of questions to say since this is the first time we met. So the first question I have is, in a hadith it says that the war between the Jews and the Muslims will be at the Euphrates River. The Muslims will be on the west and the Jews on the east. And the hadith says the Muslims will win. Therefore, does that mean there will be no greater Israel?
There is a difficulty with some hadith, and proper methodology. This answer is going to take some time. What can I do? Proper methodology is that the Quran must sit in judgment over hadith. And if a hadith is in harmony with the Quran, you accept it. But if a hadith is in conflict with the Quran, like marrying a child 6 years of age, if a hadith is in conflict with the Quran, or even the appearance of conflict with the Quran, you must always stay with the Quran. The Quran says about Akhirul Zaman that the Jews are going to display the greatest hatred and enmity and hostility for you. And at that time there will be another people who are immersed in shirk who will be the same way to you, the most hostile. We see that has already come today. It is the Jewish world and modern Western civilization. But Allah goes on to say that at that time when the Jews are behaving like this, there will be a Christian people who will be closest in love and affection for you. And I don't know, I have lectured on this subject 100,000 times already, so you should be familiar with my views. So I don't have to repeat it all. And I have come to the conclusion that Christian people who will be closest in love and affection to Muslims in Akhir Zaman will be the Orthodox Christians. Based on the verse in Suratul Anfal, we will have an alliance with them. The alliance is not based on the hadith, the alliance is based on the Quran. That these are going to be the people who will be closest in love and affection for you. And we form an alliance with them in Akhir Zaman. But the hadith says that when this alliance is victorious, a Christian will get up and declare the cross is victorious. And then a Muslim will get up and kill him and say, no, Allah is victorious. It's great. And then the two armies are going to get locked into a battle, and 1/3 of the Muslim army would run away, and Allah will never forgive them. And 1/3 will become shuhada, and the last 1/3 will be victorious. You're probably familiar with this hadith. And I asked myself, something must be wrong with that verse in the Quran. How can a people who are the closest in love and affection to you, how can they act like this? That one fella gets up and declares the cross is victorious, and because of that, wholesale war between the two sides? This is in conflict with what is in the Quran. So I do not accept. I accept that yes, there is an alliance, but I do not accept this which is in conflict with the Quran, that because of one individual, the two sides are going to wage war against each other. No. So I am of the view that in Akhir Zaman there will be an alliance of Muslims and Christians, and it is that alliance which will conquer Jerusalem.
The second question was that you said earlier that if someone makes a hakim, makes halal haram, haram halal, that's shirk. Therefore, the Muslim rulers who are doing that, are they kuffar? Because, for example, riba is halal in the Muslim world, and for example, in Tunisia recently, Muslim women can now marry non-Muslim men.
When you use the microphone, I can't understand what you're saying.
Leave it down, brother.
I can't understand what you're saying here.
Okay.
There's something with the acoustics here. Yeah.
So you said earlier that making halal haram and haram halal is shirk. Therefore, are the Muslim hukam, are they kuffar because they make, for example, riba is halal in the whole Muslim world, and another example is in Tunisia, they're allowing Muslim women to marry non-Muslim men. So that's legal. So that's just the question. Does that make them kuffar?
Anyone who makes halal what Allah has made haram, or who makes haram what Allah has made halal, is committing shirk. Full stop. It doesn't matter whether it be in Tunisia or in Timbuktu. It will be shirk, yes. It doesn't matter where it is. Even if a government does it, it's still shirk. And there is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that in Akhiru Zaman, not Akhir, Yawmul Qiyamah. My voice is beginning to go now.
Can you take a rest for a minute?
Yeah, inshallah.
I want
Let me answer this question, yeah. That on Yawmul Qiyamah, on the Judgment Day, Allah will say to Adam alayhi salam, take out the people for Jahannam. The hadith is in Sahih Bukhari. And Adam will ask, how many are they for Jahannam? And Allah will then say, out of every 1,000, take 999 for Jahannam. And then the hadith goes on. And my response is, if Allah is Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim and Al-Ghafoor, and if He says, if you, my servants, come to me with sins as high as the sky, I will forgive them all, then how can we possibly explain that 999 out of every 1,000 enters into the hellfire? There's only one explanation. Only one. And that is, He said that there is one sin that I will not forgive if you die with that sin. And it is shirk. And so therefore, we come to the conclusion that it is because of shirk that 999 out of every 1,000 will enter into the hellfire. So we are now inundated all around us with shirk. But there's another hadith which says that the shirk in Akhiru Zaman will not be easy to recognize. Very difficult. How difficult? As difficult as it would be to recognize a black ant on a black stone on a dark night. In other words, it's not with book knowledge alone that you'll be able to recognize the shirk in Akhirul Zaman. You need more than book knowledge. You need something called basira. Yes?
Brother Salman Dani, who is the Imam of Pearly Mosque, would like to invite Sheikh Imran to another lecture.
Oh, mashallah.
At Pearly Mosque on Maghrib time on Tuesday evening. I think we can accommodate if you're willing. Number one. And
With my knee like this?
I can take you. It's not so far, but we'll give an answer. Inshallah, later. We'll give an answer later. Secondly, he has an announcement for an event at Pearly Mosque as well.
Inshallah, we hope Sheikh Imran Hosein will accept the invitation to cover the same topic on 31st of July, Tuesday after Maghrib. Obviously, the book also very beneficial, the prohibition of Riba in Islam. I think it's a very important topic that really touched our heart today.
I can take
And
you
indeed,
down
as
the road.
ulama, we need to really take this campaign forward. May Allah reward Sheikh abundantly. Before all this, we have Sheikh Ahmed Ali coming to Pearly Masjid, and he's from Bradford. And of course, many of the people are going for Hajj. We will cover the footsteps of Ibrahim, Khalilullah, and the ultimate sacrifice that he has made. So it's more connecting the people for this great journey of Hajj, inshallah. We hope that we can also attend. But most important, I hope Sheikh will accept on Tuesday after Maghrib, the 31st of July. Jazakallah.
Inshallah, okay.
Brother, you have one last question? Keep it very brief. I've got a lot of questions.
So someone said to me that cryptocurrency is better than fiat currency because the government has no direct control over it. What's your opinion on this?
I already answered that. I said that the ultimate objective is one world currency for all of mankind. And they have to devise a strategy to move from this present system in which currencies are under the control of governments to this one in which all the currencies in the world will be resolved in one currency under the control of Israel. How do you move from here to here? And my answer is that cryptocurrencies have come to facilitate the movement. It's a psychological ploy to de-link or disengage currencies from government control so that you can move from the present monetary system to this one of one currency for all of mankind. This is my brief answer that I already gave previously. Okay.
Next question. Inflation and deflation at the heart of the current Riba system. Can you comment further on how these two are used to oppress mankind?
Every time a people, the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, that Dajjal will pass by a people and they would accept him and he would cause the rain to fall and the cattle will return home with the others filled and they would prosper. And Dajjal will pass by another people and they would resist him and he will stop the rain from falling and the cattle will come back home in the evening lean and with nothing in the others. If you want to understand this literally, by all means, you can sit on a comfortable sofa. What this is implying is that those who are prepared to accept the present rulers of the world, accept them and submit to their authority, like Singapore, would prosper. But those, on the other hand, who resist them or show the appearance of resistance, like Russia today and China today, and Indonesia today, and Venezuela today, and Zimbabwe today, okay, and Bolivia today, those who resist them will suffer. How do they suffer? The rulers of the world have the capacity, because they built the system, that they can attack your money and they can cause your money to fall in value. And as your money falls in value, prices will rise. But when you are a particularly dangerous customer, you will have a free fall of your money. And you'll have rising prices in a calamitous rise. This rising prices is called inflation. And I did mention at the very first session that this is the most dangerous weapon that Dajjal has, inflation. Because as prices rise, the people then turn against you. And you are removed in a color revolution. They call it regime change. It has not as yet succeeded in Venezuela, largely because the Venezuelan government has invested in the poor. All the oil revenues go to the poor. And if you keep the poor people happy and you put guns in their hands, then it's difficult to bring about a regime change in Venezuela. But I was in Caracas. I wanted to buy a coffee. I had no Venezuelan bolivars. I had US dollar 100. I wanted to change it to get money to buy a coffee. So the employee of Caribbean Airlines, with which I had flown to Venezuela, he said to me, don't change it in the money changer place, the official rate. You won't get anything there. I'll take care of it for you. I said, okay. So he went for some time. He came back. And when he came back with an envelope filled with money this high. Look, big like this. You can't put it in your pocket. This was a Venezuelan bolivar. 100 US was this much. When I went to Harare in Zimbabwe a couple of years ago, my flight arrived earlier than scheduled. And my people were not there to receive me, and I needed to call them to inform them that I'm here. So I asked, what's the cost of a local call? I need to get some, I had South African rands, so I wanted to change it to Zimbabwe dollars. So they said to me, a local call will cost $2 million. $2 million Zimbabwe money. This is because Robert Mugabe had signed an agreement with Britain on the basis of which Britain recognized a change of government in Zimbabwe, and Robert Mugabe became president. But the agreement stated that the Zimbabwe government would recognize the ownership of the British farmers of all the lands which they owned. And the British farmers owned something like 80% of all the arable land of Zimbabwe, British farmers. And because Robert Mugabe signed and accepted that, they withdrew from Zimbabwe. Southern Rhodesia then became Zimbabwe, and Salisbury then became Harare. But after 20 years of Zimbabwe new government of Robert Mugabe, the African people rose up in rebellion. That we don't have the land, they own the land, the British farmers, they own the land. We're still slaves in our country. And Mugabe suddenly found himself vulnerable, he'd be overthrown. So then he had no option but to take the land from the British farmers and give it back to the African people. And from the time he did that, the British attacked, the Western world attacked his money. And the Zimbabwe dollar fell in a free fall, and prices rose, runaway inflation. And they were hoping this way to bring about a regime change in Zimbabwe. Mugabe was able to escape by the skin of his teeth, because the poor in Zimbabwe, they knew how to keep some chicken at home and keep some sheep and goats, and how to plant some food around their house. So even though prices were constantly rising, they were able to escape from that inflation by producing their own food. Yeah.
Next question. So we have a brother from Ethiopia who's asking, will Ethiopia play any part in the last days? And he also observes that, as you have previously mentioned, Ethiopia has become a client state of Israel in Africa. So can you expand on those two subjects?
I don't know enough about the Orthodox Christian faith in Ethiopia to be able to say whether or not the prophecy in the Quran in Surah Al-Ma'idah, وَلَتَجِدَنَّ أَقْرَبَهُمْ مَوَدَّةً لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّا نَصَارَى, that you will find that the closest in love and affection to you in Akhir Zaman will be a Christian people. I said I anticipate that it is the Orthodox Christian world. They will become closest in love and affection to us, not the Western Christian world, which is in alliance with the Jewish Zionists. No. But I do not have enough knowledge about the Orthodox Christian world in Ethiopia, no, to be able to answer you. In Egypt it's different. The Coptic Christians in Egypt are in fact in a position that we can approach them and we can seek to influence their views and we can seek to build an alliance with them, but Mursi didn't understand that, no. And Mursi and the Ikhwan brought a constitution to Egypt that the Orthodox Christian did not want. No. He did not understand the constitutional Sunnah, Mursi. And so he divided Egypt, as Egypt had never been divided before. Whereas a constitution is meant to unite the people so you could live together. So it is still possible for us to reach out to the Coptic Christians. And there was a Coptic Christian who was a wife of the Prophet ﷺ. So they are a family. But the Orthodox Christian world in Ethiopia, I'm sorry, I don't have enough knowledge. I know that they're close to Israel, but I don't know any more than that.
A very practical question from a brother about his business. I run my business where I purchase real estate on behalf of investors in cash, no mortgages. Properties are in a bad condition, I need to renovate. I purchase on behalf of the investors, renovate and then sell them and share the profit. Is this haram?
I don't see anything haram. If you buy a property cash and you then renovate the property, and then you share the profits when you sell with the investors. The only thing that is haram here would be the money which is going to be used for the sale. But since the Prophet said that there is no escape from riba in Akhir Zaman, then this is not something that you can avoid. The people who want to buy the property are not going to pay you in dinar and dirham.
So this is, I think, you touched on this before, but not in this aspect. We know that Gaddafi started gold currency and it failed, and what guarantee it won't happen again? Because this is our...
No, it is not correct to say that it failed. Muammar Gaddafi kept it secret. I was not aware of it until after he was killed. But he had wisdom which no one else had, except perhaps Ahmad Sukarno in Indonesia. Ahmad Sukarno wanted that the Indonesian rupiah should be redeemable in gold. Yes. And because he was making an effort in this direction, this is one of the reasons why the CIA overthrew him, Ahmad Sukarno. He even took Indonesia out of the IMF, the only state in the history of the IMF to ever discontinue membership in the IMF was Indonesia. But after he was overthrown, then Indonesia returned gleefully into the arms of the IMF. Then Venezuela attempted to leave, but it was impossible. Couldn't leave. But Gaddafi recognized the injustice of the monetary system, which surprised me, and was attempting, with the support of other governments in Africa, to create a monetary system for Africa that would replace the French franc. Because you have the Francophone monetary area where France's money rules supreme. And France is able to enrich herself because of that. So they wanted to displace the French franc with another monetary system which will be under their control, and that this new monetary system will be based on gold. And for this reason, Libya brought back or repatriated all its gold back to Libya from abroad. No other country did that. When the French realized what Libya was doing, the French realized that this is going to be a disaster for France. France's prosperity will now be in peril if Gaddafi were to succeed. So we cannot allow this to happen. So the French and the CIA was successful in recruiting a bunch of, excuse my language, a bunch of jackasses. You know, you pay them and they will do whatever you want them to do. And these jackasses went with NATO and they launched this insurrection against the government of Libya. And they were successful in overthrowing that government, and then not only was Gaddafi murdered, his body was desecrated, defiled. So those jackasses who were part of this bogus jihad, they will have to answer on Judgment Day for what they did. No, it's not correct to say that Gaddafi has failed. No. In what he did, he was a hero. Despite all the foolishness he did when he was alive, yes. But this effort that he made was a heroic effort. And because he did not have the support that he needed from Russia, that there was a fight within the Russian government between those who were pro-Zionist and those who were anti-Zionist. And Putin was on the anti-Zionist side, and the other fellow was on the pro-Zionist side. And when the vote came to the Security Council for NATO to be given the use of force in Libya, Russia abstained. And from the time Russia abstained, that was the end of Gaddafi. So you have to put the blame for the loss of Libya to NATO on the doorstep of Russia. Not that part of Russia which was in opposition to the Zionists, led by Putin, but the other side, they call them the Atlanticists. But this side is now gone in the years which have followed that debacle, with that vote on Libya. This side has been eliminated, and now the Putin side has taken over control of the country completely. Yeah.
Couple more questions?
It's 6:30 and my voice is going. What should we do?
One or two, yes or no?
Okay, go ahead.
You were promoting a Muslim village previously. Are you still doing that?
There are a number of individuals who have come forward and who have approached me, and they want support. And they've asked me to just publicize it, and those who are willing to join with them to kindly connect us together. There's one in Bangladesh, there's one in Morocco, there's one in Uganda, there's one in Trinidad, there's one in Pakistan. I've forgotten where the others are now. But these are individuals who have come forward to say, we want to start the project. If any of you, or anyone who listens to this lecture on the internet, would like to start a project and you want to get a team, you just send me an email and I would then make the announcement. And there's been a very big response. Oh yes, lots of people have written to me and I have been able to put them in contact with the project that they found most appealing. So yes, Muslim village projects are on the way.
Last two. One about halal mortgages. Are they halal?
A mortgage is an item of security for a loan which has been taken, that if the loan is not repaid, that item can be sold to recover the amount lent. That's a mortgage. Based on that definition, the Prophet ﷺ placed his armor as mortgage with the Jewish shopkeeper when he bought barley and wheat and so on, grain for his family. When he died, the armor was still with the Jewish shopkeeper. So that's a mortgage. So a mortgage is halal, provided, of course, that the loan is not a loan on interest, that's all.
Last question from the brother. Make it brief, please, because of Sheikh's voice.
Just from observing the transition from a day like a year to a day like a month, there was a civil war. And some people view it as a civil war for liberty, and others view it as a civil war for banking liberty to the elite, which they are coming from the Cecil Road mentality, or following the route of Cecil Road, John Cecil Road. We've seen some fight over who's going to dominate this power. Loads of currencies, people started to lose confidence, and the one that is being backed by the feds or by these very rich groups, the one that won, and it was the American dollar. Just from observing the next transition from a day like a month to a day like a week, some speakers say that the feds tried to fight the cryptocurrency, but because they didn't understand it as much, they started to try to get into it and try to use their power to create a diversion and create loads of currencies. Now there are loads of them, it's not just Bitcoin. And us as a Muslim community, we've got no idea what's happening within this side of the money. And some speakers say that this is going to be used the same way that there was a war with all these American currencies back in the days of the creation of the American dollar. There's going to be another one with the cryptocurrencies, and one of them will come winning, and this will be the currency for a day like a week. Can you elaborate on that, as the deception is going so great that our children can't even relate to gold and silver, and it's going to be very easy for them to move into cryptocurrency, as they will listen and understand the propaganda is being presented to them all their life, and unfortunately we'll have to live in this age. And can you see that this is something could happen in the start of the day like a week, that we're going to be living ultimately in a cryptocurrency age or a digital currency age, and there will be this loss of confidence on which one is the winner, and the old group who won the last battle will win the next battle, and we still don't really understand.
Okay.
I consider myself to be someone who is involved in building only the foundation of the house of eschatology. That there is a huge amount of building to be done. But this will be done by those who come after me. And the work that I have done would be insignificant compared to the brilliance of that which is to come. A world of Islamic scholarship which is coming. We are planting the seeds now for those who are to come. That's why I'm now spending more time in Britain. The Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, that my ummah is like the rain. I don't know which shower is better, the first or the last, indicating that there is a world of Islamic scholarship to come in the future, which will dazzle the world. I believe that there's much concerning the subject of the passage from Pax Americana to Pax Judaica, which is connected to the world of money, which we still have no knowledge about. It is still to come. And since nothing has appeared on the horizon, I cannot respond. It's like cryptocurrencies. 2 years ago, we never heard about it. So how can we respond to it? And so my input into the subject is restricted, it's limited. But don't therefore expect that this is a comprehensive explanation of the subject. What is the process and the method? We saw that a great war, in fact two great wars, had to take place for the British sterling pound to be crippled. Yes. And by the end of the Second World War, the British sterling pound was on her knees. And the transition to the US dollar became possible in Bretton Woods. And so the US dollar has to be brought to its knees. What is the process through which the US dollar is going to be brought to its knees? Someone with a greater knowledge of monetary economics, international monetary economics, will have to do this micro-analysis. All that I can say is from the macro perspective, that the US dollar will have to be brought to its knees in the same way that the sterling pound was brought to her knees at Bretton Woods. And the method or the process of transfer of power from the US dollar to the one world currency, my comments at this time is restricted. I can't see anything on the horizon other than cryptocurrencies coming to facilitate the passage. This is the limits of my knowledge, but I am going to share with you the view that I am confident that this is not the whole story. And so you have to be alert, you have to be watching, you have to be able to connect the dots, to be able to recognize what is the additional strategy which is going to be used, that we don't have an inkling of it yet, which is going to be used to realize the passage from this monetary system to the one which is to come. I'm sorry, this is all I can say. Yeah.
No more questions now, but just a passing comment from a brother from the US.
Yes,
the properties of gold.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the most important property,
Yeah.
which it hasn't got anything without it.
I didn't think it was necessary for me to have any elaborate statement on whether they were halal and haram. I thought everybody will understand they were all haram. The cryptocurrencies, because they have no intrinsic value. I was more concerned in locating the place and the function of this new development of cryptocurrencies in the context of the movement from a day like a month to a day like a week. Cryptocurrencies and eschatology. This is what and I'm saying to you, that they have to move from currencies which are under government control and central bank control to a one world currency. So when the Feds started shouting from the hilltops about cryptocurrencies and warning about it, I think it's called shadow boxing. Now then, one last word. If you are connected with an organization, a masjid, which considers me welcome, because not all masajid welcome me, and you are in Britain, US, anywhere in London or outside of London, and you'd like to invite me to come, I'll be very happy to do. Outside you'll find Ashraf, who is at the bookshop. Where's Ashraf?
He's outside. I think.
Yeah. So you simply have to contact Ashraf, take his email address, and contact him. And even though I leave, I come back. I'll be coming back regularly, so we can then fix a date for you when I can come to your masjid or your center, so inshallah. And one last thing, the book. I brought this all the way from Trinidad for you in my suitcase. And this is the book I've used for today's lecture. Do please make sure you get a copy before you leave here.